As I watch the air train stop the next morning, things feel crisp, less weighted. The cool of the night accomplished what the rain yesterday did not. The air feels fresh, new. The sun blinks through the last of the clouds, dares the birds to sing, and they do. It dares me to let the light in, and I do. Who wouldn't rage against the death of something so beautiful? I'm not the only one who feels it. At hiking, Kai finds me standing at the front of the group, just as the officer begins speaking. Kai presses the compact into my hands. I feel the touch of his fingers, and I think he leaves them there on mine, the smallest bit longer than necessary. I put the compact in my pocket. Why here, I wonder? Still tingling. Why not give it to me at home? I'm glad I lent it to M, but I'm glad to have it back too. The compact is the one link I have to my grandparents, and I vow never to let it out of my hands again. I think maybe Kai will wait for me to go into the woods, but he doesn't. When the officer below blows the whistle, Kai takes off without a backward glance, and all at once my new, bright feeling dissolves a bit. You have your compact back, I remind myself. Something returned. He disappears completely into the trees ahead of me. Something lost. 3 minutes later, alone in the woods, I realize that Kai didn't give me back my compact. It's something else. I can tell the moment I pull it out of my pocket to make sure it looks alright. The object is similar, gold. A case you can snap open and shut. But it's definitely not my artifact. There's a letter, N-E-S-W, and the arrow on the inside that spins and spins and keeps pointing back to me. I didn't think that aberrations could have access to artifacts, but Kai obviously does. Did he give it to me on purpose, by accident? Should I try and give it back, or wait until he says something to me? There are far too many secrets in these woods. I decide. I find myself smiling and polish the bright again, ready for the sun. Sir, loin's fallen. We think he's injured. The officer swears under his breath and looks at Kai and me, who are the only two up at the top of the hill, except for this boy. You two stay here, up here and keep track of who comes when, alright? The officer gives me the data pod. Before I can say anything, he disappears back into the forest with the boy. I think about telling Kai that we need to exchange artifacts, but before I say a word, something stops me. For some reason, I want to hold onto the mysterious spinning arrow in its golden case, just for another day or two. What are you doing? I asked him instead. His hand moves, making shapes and curves and lines in the grass that seem familiar. His blue eyes flash up at me. I'm writing. Of course. That's why the marks look familiar. He was writing in the old-fashioned curved writing kind of writing, like the script on my compact. I've seen samples of it before, but don't know how to do it. No one does. All we can do is type. We could try to imitate the figures, but with what? We don't have any of the old tools. But I realized as I watched Kai that you can make your own tools. How did you learn to do this? I don't dare sit up next to him. Someone could come through the trees at any moment and need me to enter them in the data pod, so I stand close as I dare. He grimaces, and I realize I am standing right in the middle of his words. I take a step back. He smiles, but does not answer. He keeps on writing. This is a difference between us. I live to sort. He knows how to create. He can write words whenever he wants. He can swirl them in the grass, write them in the sand, carve them into trees. No one knows I can do this, Kai says. Now I have a secret of yours and you have one of mine. Just one? I say, thinking of the spinning arrow in the gold case? Kai smiles again. Some of the rain from last night pooled on the heavy droplet petals of the wildflowers here. I dip my finger in the water and try to write along the slick green surface of one of the broad leaves. It feels difficult, awkward. My hands are used to typing on screens, not to sweep and swirl in controlled movements. I haven't held a paintbrush in years, not since my days in first school. Because the water is clear, I can't really see my letters, but I still know they aren't formed correctly. Kai dips his finger into another droplet and writes a glistening C on a leaf. He makes the curves smoothly and gracefully. Will you teach me? I ask. I'm not supposed to do that. We're not supposed to be doing any of this, I remind him. Sounds drift up from the tangled trees and undergrowth below us. Someone's coming. I feel desperate to make him promise to teach me before anyone gets here, but this movement vanishes. We're not supposed to know poems or writing, or I stop myself. I ask again, will you teach me? Kai doesn't answer. We're not alone anymore. Several people reach the top of the hill, and from their wails I can hear through the forest. The officer and Loin's group are not far behind. I have to enter these names into the data pod, so I step away from Kai. I look back once at where he sits with his arms folded looking over the hill. It turns out that Loin will survive. Once the officer cues the melodrama accompanying the injury, they will find that all Loin has is a slight twisted ankle. Still, the officer warns us to take it slow on our way back to the bottom of the hill. I want to walk down with Kai, but he attaches himself to the officer and makes himself useful in getting Loin back down the mountain. I wonder why the officer bothers hauling Loin to the top at all until I hear him muttering something to Kai about making quota so they don't get after me. It surprises me, even though I know officers must report to people too. I walk with a girl named Livy, who is getting better at hiking as the days go on, and who acts enthusiastic about everything. She talks and talks, and I imagine Kai's hands making sweeping curves of the sea, for my name and my heart beats faster. We're later getting back. I have to rush to the train bound for the borough, and Kai has to rush to the one that will take him to the city for work. I've given up on talking to him again. Today I feel someone brush past me. At the same time, I hear the words so soft and quiet. I wonder if he said it up on the hill, and the wind is just now carrying it down to me. The word is yes.